Welcome into the SBR betting roundtable for Wednesday. Every Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 Eastern time, alongside Donnie Rightside, Ian Cameron, Jeff Nadeau. I am Drew Martin. We're going to be hitting on some NFL, college football, huge college football slate this weekend. Also some Canadian sports, 60 seconds with Ian Cameron. Let's go right around the horn. Donnie Rightside, find him on Twitter at RightsideVP. His work at DonnieRightside.com. Donnie, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, it's good to be back. Another week, another day, another dollar. My favorite time of the year. We have some action. Last night, you had a couple football games, very entertaining. Going to have 3 more football games, a really good slate tonight. So it should be a lot of fun to watch and really looking forward to it. But again, NFL's on deck again, been doing very well in that. So hopefully we'll be able to point some people in the right direction when we go over some NFL action today.
Absolutely, Donnie. Maction, full force. I know Ian Cameron's a big part of it. Saw him on Twitter. He's a great follow on Twitter at Babano, his work at sportsmemo.com. Any thoughts on Maction, Ian?
Oh, lots of thoughts. I mean, for me, this is surprising a little bit because I haven't bet a lot of MAC football this year. I haven't watched it every single day like Donnie and maybe some other people have. But this slate is a legitimately good MAC football slate tonight. Toledo versus Ohio, 2 of the heavyweights in this conference, should be great. 2 teams thriving offensively right now as well. You've got Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan. Eastern Michigan can't win a close game. Central Michigan has found ways to win close games, so that is a fascinating in-state rivalry there between the Chips and the Eagles. So there's a lot to like. I was going to bring up Kent and Western Michigan, but yeah, it's always fun to see Kent State completely stink it up every single week, and I'm sure they will again tonight. But yeah, it's a good MAC slate. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one as well, though. I mean, Western Michigan laying, about 3 touchdowns with a bunch of injuries. So it's
and here comes that Kent State money again. I know there's injuries on Western Michigan. I get it. But here's that Kent State money again. It is absolutely comical every week you see it.
Absolutely. Well, last but certainly not least, Jeff Nadeau. Find him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. He's the big man on campus. College basketball starting on Friday. He's the man with all the knowledge. Jeff, welcome to the show, man.
Hello, Drew. How are you? Good to be on with you guys. Excited for college basketball coming up this week.
He's got all kinds of conference previews coming out on SBR Picks. Started yesterday. We got a bunch more coming out today. Him and Donnie did it. Jeff knows college basketball as good as anybody in the country, in my opinion. But guys, let's get right into NFL. We got bet on fade teams. Donnie, can you start us off with maybe a bet on team you're looking at?
Yeah, no, if we take a look at a bet on team, and it's one team that you can't bet on this weekend, that would be the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a show me state, as opposed to, I think they can get it done. Philadelphia Eagles right now are on that warpath right now. The only thing that's going to stop them is an injury to, massive injuries, I should say. Everybody laughed and joked when Jason Peters went down. Oh, my God, you can't survive without left tackle. What are you going to do against Denver? They have the best pass rush in the NFL. Shut them down, beat them badly as well. You're going to have a break here coming back versus Dallas. It's going to be Dak versus Wentz in that game. Whatever side you're on, pick them. It's going to be on Sunday Night Football until somebody shows me right now, Drew, that the Philadelphia Eagles are not for real. They're a bet on team each and every single week right now.
All right, Donnie. We'll come to you for maybe a fade team in a minute, but I know Ian Cameron has a couple fade teams. Which ones were you looking at, Ian?
Well, we're looking at 3 teams in similar situations here. Teams that thought they had the chance to be good this season, teams that thought they had a chance to make the playoffs this year, and we find out they're not really that good at all. New York Giants are one. This is a team I want no part of, a coach that's on his way out, coach that can't even put words together and answer a question about what he said to his team at halftime last week. I mean, he's just completely a complete buffoon as far as I'm concerned. Ben McAdoo's just been a horrendous football coach for the New York Giants. That was a complete quit effort from them against the Rams last week. It's not just they played poorly. We know they played poorly. They played poorly most of the season. But when signs of quit are showing up in your game, when your effort and your intensity levels being questioned, that's a problem. And that's what I saw clearly from the New York Giants. That was a lay down and die, we don't give 2 shits attitude against the Rams. I don't want my money on a team like that. Not even maybe. They stand out as a fade. The Cincinnati Bengals are another one. How on earth with this in a game that you absolutely must have against the Jacksonville Jaguars to really maintain any sort of semblance in this playoff race, and you end up just having a horrendous second half. The offense does absolutely nothing, looks completely inept. Whatever little spark they got from Bill Lazor on the onset, taking over as offensive coordinator, that's gone right down the tubes again for the Cincinnati Bengals. Just been horrendous on the offensive side. They're a team that's obviously disappointed with where they are, and I'm not sure their effort level is one that I think going forward is going to be strong. And then you've got the Houston Texans. And unfortunately, Houston probably isn't, in terms of their effort, as bad as Cincinnati or the Giants in terms of can it be questioned. But, when you lose a Deshaun Watson and you have Tom Savage in there and unable to move the football consistently against one of the worst defenses in the NFL last week in the Indianapolis Colts, you got issues. And that's all there is to it. They're banged up on defense. It hasn't been the same defense at all since Watt and Merciless went down. That secondary misses A.J. Boye, who's no longer there. I said that was a huge loss for them in the offseason. They haven't replaced him with anybody as good or better. That's a bad defense right now, a quarterback that you can't trust. Houston, Cincy, Giants, put them all in the dumpster. I want no part of them.
All three fade city for Ian and Donnie. Back to you with another bet on team or fade team, excuse me.
Yeah, there's one dump truck team out there, which I made some money on last week. And keep in mind, folks, I haven't bet anything this week, but Ian brings up one of the teams, which I'm actually looking opposite of. That dumpster fire team right now, until they get Jimmy Garoppolo, is your San Francisco 49ers. When they run CJ Beathard out there, whenever CJ Beathard starts a football game, folks, go out, refinance your house, go to the bank, borrow a loan, hit the guy on the street corner. I don't care if you have to pay 3-4 points a week in juice, borrow some money off of him and fade the 49ers with everything in your life. Doesn't matter that they're playing the Giants. Doesn't matter if they're going to play a JUCO team this weekend. Doesn't matter if they're going to play the local JV high school football team. As long as CJ Beathard is a quarterback in the NFL and slated to play 4 quarters like he is for this Sunday, run as fast as you can. Go to your mom's house and refinance her house. Forge the documents. Forge your parents' documents to get cash out on their house, and then you can pay their house off, and they can thank you later.
Yeah, the effort for San Francisco is not the issue. They're trying. They're playing hard. It doesn't
matter. If you look at their injury report right now for San Francisco, that's not an NFL football team. That's embarrassing to have CJ Beathard out there. Flat out disgrace.
It's not that bad.
What's that?
Come on, Don.
Beathard have you watched him play football?
He bad, is atrocious. I don't think he's as bad as you're making him out to be. You're making him out to be
Bobby. Okay, give me a quarterback better.
You have to give him he's got no offensive line there. None, zero.
He has no offensive line. He has no weapons. He has no defense. He has nothing on that football team. Why is he a good quarterback?
He's better than like Kevin Hogan and people like that. I don't think he's that bad.
Is Kevin Hogan starting? What I missed? Is Kevin Hogan starting this weekend? I missed something?
Well, look, I'm not going to argue with you. You're difficult to argue with. I'm just saying.
Let's build a case then. Build me a case for why you think San Francisco's a bet on team with Beathard.
I'm not saying he's a bet on team. I don't think he's that bad though. You're making him out to be like you said he could beat it. You couldn't beat a JUCO team. That's a little.
They can't beat a JUCO team. San Francisco right now. Did you watch the game against an awful Arizona team? Arizona gets blasted by everybody lately. Stanton went out there and just disrespected that whole San Francisco football team. San Francisco is the worst team in the NFL right now with CJ Beathard. But if you remember last week on the roundtable, wait till Jimmy Garoppolo gets in there, and then they'll be able to move the football. Right now, CJ Beathard, that whole front office should get fired for having CJ Beathard as your quarterback right now. At least you should have kept Hoyer around at least to run the offense. Come on.
And we can't forget, too, that he already had one of his legs in the wheelchair already. Yet Adrian Peterson still managed to absolutely torch that team running the football on the ground last week. So even defensively, San Francisco, and it's a product of the offense. Can't stay on the field. Can't sustain drives. Can't keep it going on third down. It's always once it gets to third down, their conversion rate is terrible on offense. San Francisco, and it's putting the defense in a predicament where, and they're not a great defense to begin with, but they're on the field just too damn much, and they're getting ripped apart.
They're bad. They're a really, really bad football team. If they played right now with CJ Beathard at quarterback, the Browns would ice that San Francisco football team right now.
Guys, good breakdown there. CJ Beathard, the old Iowa Hawkeye, misses days there in the Big Ten. But we got a game to break down in the NFL. Let's go New Orleans versus Buffalo. Looks like it's New Orleans open -1. Now some 3 showing 2.5. This is a good one to shop around. We got 3s at Heritage and BetCris right now on the SBR odds screen. Also 2.5 at 5 dimes right now. So very important half point here on the 3 in the NFL, as we all know. Guys, let's break this one down. 46.5 the total. Big man, you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, I got some question marks about this game just because, you have a team that plays in a dome going outside. Weather could be a problem in this game. I know in the Midwest it's supposed to rain on Saturday, so I'd imagine maybe that could be an issue in this game. It's raw. It's cold at this point in the Northeast, so that could be concerning for Drew Brees. But you have to look at this without the weather concerns. You look at the Saints, guys. I mean, 6 wins in a row. They've covered all 6 games. They forced 12 turnovers in those 6 games. Defenses really playing great. I mean, really impressive. I mean, you always want to pile on the Saints. You're coming into the year, all this talk about they have new personnel. They're going to change it up. They're a lot better. They've been pretty good. It's been impressive. And you saw last week, I think we all kind of talked about it. The Bills' pass defense is not particularly good. It's concerning when you got Drew Brees coming in. Alvin Kamara's been great. You look at getting some of the guys back healthy. The guy like Willie Snead. People like that. This offense is really kind of humming right now, and the Bills are giving up 250 passing yards a game. I mean, they're not particularly strong in the secondary. Have had some injuries as well. I've been impressed with the Saints. They're 5-0 as a favorite against the spread. The weather's concerning here just because of you taking a guy out of a dome. That's always concerning. But overall, Drew's been pretty good this year. I lean on the Saints here, but it's a tough one. Buffalo's a pretty good football team. They were kind of embarrassed on national TV in their last game, so that's always kind of a red flag if you're looking to bet against. I lean Saints, but I got questions on the weather here.
Donnie, any difference in opinion on this game?
It's the spot I like Buffalo in. I don't like Buffalo laying 7. I don't like Buffalo laying 10. I don't like Buffalo going on the road. I like Buffalo at home in one of those field goal type games where they're laying or getting those type of points. You saw them dismantle the Oakland Raiders, who, again, say what you want about the Oakland Raiders. They do have some weapons out there, decent quarterback, decent offensive line, completely took them apart. The one thing we always like to catch is Drew Brees on the road. Now, when Drew Brees goes on the road, let's just say maybe Tampa Bay, Carolina, stays down west, in the Southwest, in that area, goes out west where it's nice weather conditions. If we're looking in Buffalo, we're going to get some weather here. And I'm not talking about, 25 degrees and 40-mile-an-hour winds. Just give me a little bit. Give me that high 30s, low 40s, maybe 10, 15-mile-an-hour winds. That really upsets this New Orleans football team, the New Orleans offense to speak of there. When you look at Tyrod Taylor as a quarterback, not the greatest thrower in the world, but if you put him in a little bit of elements, he's going to make plays with his feet, and they play really well at home. Kelvin Benjamin will be in for this football game. Another nice red zone weapon that they are lacking right now. Lean on Shady McCoy in this game. Lean on Tyrod Taylor running it out of the backfield. And again, you have a little bit extra prep time. Sean McDermott's a pretty good football coach and a damn good defensive coordinator. He has a little bit extra time to prepare for this New Orleans offense. Is the Buffalo going to blow them out? No. But right now, I'm going to lean towards taking the Buffalo Bills. I love the spot when the Bills are laying 3 or getting 3 at home. Always advantageous to bet the Buffalo Bills. And
Donnie, you bring up weather here. It's always an interesting handicap. Is that something you're going to wait on or fire away now?
No. I mean, it's. I don't think there's supposed to be any real wet. Like, we're not waiting on torrential rains, or is there going to be 6 to 8 inches of snow or massive wind at this point? So weather's almost going to be like a bonus. Like right now, if you're looking 38 degrees, 5-mile-an-hour winds, you'd like to see the winds be a little bit higher. But anytime you get Drew Brees out of that dome comfort, basketball arena where you can just throw the ball wherever you want and put it on a dime wherever you want, a little bit different when he does step outdoors. And Buffalo's going to be excited for this football game. Had a week and a half off to get ready. I would lean on the Buffalo Bills at this point. But weather-wise, it doesn't look like it's going to be that drastic there, but it always helps the cooler it gets for a dome team.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And Ian, this is kind of in your neck of the woods. Any opinion on it?
The neck of the woods, like Mystical and Outcast once said. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting game here. We've got Saints and Bills. Bills have been terrific at home, not just good, terrific at home. 4-0 straight up, 3-0-1 against the spread. They have always played better at home, and it's been that way in the Tyrod Taylor era. He, as a quarterback, has played better consistently here at New Era Field in Orchard Park than he has on the road, and I wouldn't expect that to not continue here in this game. He's been more comfortable. This Bills offense has been more aggressive at home. They've made more plays. Certainly getting Kelvin Benjamin integrated into this offense at wide receiver is going to help this Bills offense this week, and the extra time to prepare and practice and get ready. And with a quality coach that knows what to do with that extra time, unlike Rex Ryan and Sean McDermott, that's going to help this Bills team. Buffalo's not a team I want to bet against at home. That's all there is to it. I know the Saints are playing really good football. Give them credit. The Saints really playing good. They've won 6 straight games, covered 6 straight games. Not an easy team to go against right now, but you got to go on the road. And when you look at what they've done on the road this year, their last 3 road wins, all with an asterisk to me. Carolina on the road when Cam Newton wasn't right, when he was still struggling early in the year. Miami, which is, they are what they are. And Green Bay with Brett Hundley at quarterback. Okay, those are the 3 road wins for the New Orleans Saints. This is going to be a tough challenge, I think, for them. And I'm going to make a case not only for Buffalo, I'll lean that way in the side perspective, but also over the total. I'm a little concerned with the weather. I'm going to wait on this till Friday, Saturday. We get a more accurate forecast because they are talking about chance of rain showers, 15 to 25 mile per hour winds. The wind concerns me a lot more, guys, than the rain. Moderate wins. I just don't want the wins to get higher than that. But this Buffalo over trend, I've said it before and I'll say it again at home, is remarkable. 11-1. 11-1 to the over in 12 home games for the Buffalo Bills since the start of last season. That's an under-the-radar totals trend, and it's not one I'm bucking. So I'm looking Bills and over, side and total in this game.
All right, Ian. And big man, Ian and Donnie both touched on handicap and the weather. You want to kind of wait until Thursday, Friday, Saturday to make your bets based on the weather, or will you fire away early in the week?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't, I especially Buffalo, they got the lake right there. I wouldn't be jumping to bet this game early personally. I don't really bet the NFL generally till later in the week anyway. When I do, it's Sunday morning probably. So no, I wouldn't bet on it, especially because it's Buffalo. There's always a concern that weather will be a problem. And he mentioned wind. I mean, that's going to affect the team that loves to throw the ball around. They're familiar with playing in a dome. They don't go to Buffalo very often, I'd imagine. So yeah, I would definitely be a little bit more concerned as the week goes on. I'd wait a little bit for that one.
Okay, well, good stuff, guys. I know we got a huge college football card, also 60 Seconds with Cameron coming up. Anybody else want to hit on anything NFL-wise before we move on?
Yeah, I got one quick point here, and if you follow me on Twitter, I'm going to give you a steal this week that I want you to use because it's maybe the best stat that I've ever seen, and it's the best thing you should ever do today with your game. Since 1992, back when Brett Favre played for the Green Bay Packers all the way up through last year, 21-5. That's the record that Green Bay has going on the road to play the Chicago Bears when they have Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. It's a great stat. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers aren't taking the field, but you really should get after that stat right there and use that to your advantage because it means a lot in this football game. Same way 24-1 on Monday night when the Detroit Lions came up to Lambeau. Make sure you include that stat in your write-up this week of how much Green Bay dominates with two of the best quarterbacks of all time playing in Chicago who will not be playing this weekend. Just a PSA for you.
All right, Big Man and Ian, did you guys get bad feedback on this?
Audio is real bad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I said. I said in the chat, finally, the robot is picking on someone other than Big Man.
People want me to get that stat out there. People want that stat.
No, we could hear it a little bit, Donnie, but you were having a little muffling there, man. Not sure what's going on. But
back now, right? You're right now?
No, you're still robot, bro.
Damn, I'm getting hang out. All right, I'll catch you guys later tonight.
All right, man. Hey, Ian, let's go to you, bud. 60 Seconds with Ian Cameron. Anything Canadian sports, please, a song and dance, anything like that, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's NHL is off to a good start for me personally from a betting perspective. Been good. Scoring continues to be pretty increased, I guess you could say, very much increased so far before last night. Last night we had a slew of unders. It's something to watch moving forward. Maybe you're going to start to see teams getting used to the change in the way penalties are called, emphasis on slashing, emphasis on holding, the face-off violation. Going to be things that, as the season goes on, eventually you got to expect teams to make the adjustment that, hey, even if we tap a guy on the shoulder with our stick, we're going to get thrown in the box for 2 minutes. You just can't do it anymore. I think that's eventually going to sink in with a lot of these players, a lot of these teams, and maybe that will decrease the number of penalties and decrease the amount of scoring as well. But something to keep an eye on moving forward. And we got CFL playoffs this Sunday kicking off. The playoffs have finally arrived. If you want to know my thoughts on those games, make sure you watch the archived edition of the 3-Down Breakdown show with myself and Andrew McInnes every Tuesday at noon Eastern. We broke down the 2 playoff games in depth. So rather than spoil it, I'm going to say watch the 3-Down Breakdown. We break down these 2 games in depth.
You've been on a hell of a run in the CFL, huh?
Yeah, it finally came. I mean, it actually was a good start, went through some rocky times, and it's been a great 9-0 last 9 CFL plays. It's been great. So finishing the season strong, hopefully that keeps going in the playoffs, Drew.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. And who do you like to win the Grey Cup?
It's wide open this year. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. It's the Calgary Stampeders because usually they can flip a switch and things are fine, but this was a prolonged period of time for Calgary down the stretch when they did not play good football. Sometimes they've proven they can flip a switch when the playoffs arrive and get things cranked up again and play their A game. I'm not sure this is quite that same Calgary team this year. So I think they might be vulnerable. I think there's value to look at teams like Saskatchewan, Ottawa, Edmonton, teams like that have a chance maybe to win the Grey Cup and take advantage of a Calgary team that I think might just not be quite as good as they've been in the past where they've dominated.
All right, Ian. Thanks, man. Guys, we got a huge college football slate. We got OU versus TCU, Auburn, Georgia, and the main event, Notre Dame versus Miami down there in South Florida. It's going to be a great weekend of college football. Anybody got some thoughts on some action? We had some good games last night. We got hella games today. We got 3 showing up on Toledo right now. Donnie, I know you got an opinion on that game. What about Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan? Let's go right around the horn. Donnie, any opinions on tonight's action?
Yeah, let's take a look at the first game, 105-106, Kent State, Western Michigan. It's one of those games where you just thumb your nose at Kent State because they are an abomination of a NCAA football team. I would agree. I mean, there's no getting around it. But the one thing sometimes you do want to take pause with, because you need to have, if you're going to have the nail, which obviously is Kent, you're going to have the hammer. You need to have the hammer have a really good quarterback in order to drive that stake into somebody by 4 touchdowns. If Kent State's playing Logan Woodside, it's going to be a wrap. Even Ohio, Nathan Rourke can get off against that football team. Eastern and Central Michigan both have pretty good quarterbacks. But now you're looking at Western Michigan here, and if you've watched this young kid come in, he's really raw. He's more of a runner, meaning like he's Nathan Rourke from Ohio, but he doesn't throw nearly as well. So then you're going to lean more on your running game. So okay, Jarvion Franklin is a really good running back, maybe the best overall running back in the MAC itself. But the one thing that Western Michigan prided itself on coming back this year was John Wasson at quarterback. He's not going to be in this football game. As we know, the backup is going to be in, but also almost a 4-headed monster. You had Levante Bellamy, the home run threat, Jamari Bogan, the everything running back, Jarvion Franklin, just, the dominant force. Give me the ball 25 times for 160 yards. Then you throw on Devon Tucker as a younger running back that can fill in. You're without 3 of those 4 running backs tonight, and also now with a quarterback that doesn't pass very well. Do I think Kent can win the football game? No, because you have to be able to score more than 20 points to beat most football teams in the MAC, or at least even have a chance to be in the football game. But if you're betting just because you say Kent State stinks, be leery on the other side. Kent State is an okay defense out there, but you want to say, you know what? If Western Michigan really needs it, this kid's not going to be throwing dimes all over the field to extend that lead. They're going to keep it on the ground. And again, they're down 1 running back. Jarvion Franklin in the first quarter, second quarter gets nicked up a little bit. Now who are we looking at? And what type of offense do you have for Western Michigan?
Yeah, good point. And they got a bunch of injuries, too, on Western Michigan. So that's not the same Western Michigan from early in the season. What about you, big man?
Take away the quarterback and 3 running backs. I mean, you're already down. Now you're saying cover 3 touchdowns. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, it just takes some balls to bet the like Kent State side. But big man, any thoughts on tonight?
No, I don't have a particular thought on this game. Maybe under, but not really. Kent is a dreadful team, worst offense in the country. I mean, Donnie, you and I mean, no,
I know you don't have to tell me, Jeff. I've watched more Kent State than anybody. My eyes hurt.
No, I know. I'm just making that clear. We both know that. Toledo, Ohio, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough game because you have 2 really good offensive groups here. You have a team at home. You have a team that is the best team in the MAC. What is it, West? Miami of Ohio's really went away. You look at this game. I mean, I guess it matters, but I mean, they're going to probably play each other in the title game. Over probably. I mean, I don't really see a ton of stops here. Toledo really can't seem to get stops in a pass game. I know it looks on paper that they do, but they normally don't. Rourke's been all really dynamic lately. I like Ohio's offense. The concern is, they just kind of run clock with their rush offense, but it'll be a good game. I don't have much feel on any of these, really. I know you guys are mentioning it's a great card. I don't know that I see that, but I think it's kind of tough. I mean, I could see Ohio winning at home, truthfully. I could see Toledo winning by double digits. I don't have much feel on it, really.
Yeah, decent betting card. It's a better viewing card.
Right.
I think it's a good view tonight, some of these games. But yeah, betting, I've seen better bets out there, but I agree with Big Man's assessment on over the total with Ohio, Toledo. We probably should see points in that game. How about the pride of Oakville, Ontario, Canada? My guy, Nathan Rourke, quarterback for the Ohio Bobcats. Canadian, looking to get the job done, getting a spotlight here on national TV. It's an ESPN2 game. How about the fact he's got 16 rushing touchdowns this year? This is a dual-threat quarterback. He can throw it. He can run it. So it's going to be a test for Toledo's defense. Toledo's been gashed along the ground a little bit as well. So maybe it's a chance for Ohio to get some things going here on the offensive side of the ball. And I think nobody's stopping Logan Woodside in the Toledo offense. I mean, nobody's been able to. so far. I don't think Ohio is going to be able to slow them down. I know Ohio's got a decent defense, but this is weaponry that they haven't seen a whole lot of this season. So the case to be made for points, I think, is a pretty good case to make.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that it's only 62.5 right now. And we got Richard in the chat box right now. By the way, guys, 130 people watching on YouTube right now. We appreciate it. Please give us a like button, the thumbs up, and feel free to chime in on what you like to hear. He's saying Eastern Michigan line is amazing. Is anybody else surprised by Eastern Michigan -2 over Central Michigan?
Eastern Michigan has been a road warrior against the spread. I think they've covered something like 11 in a row ATS on the road, Eastern Michigan.
13 of 16.
Something like they've been fantastic. And that's the only reservation I have, because I lean Central here as a home underdog, because this is a close, competitively lined game. Who has been winning the close games lately? Central Michigan. Who's been losing every close game lately? Eastern Michigan. So who do you trust to make that one key play, that one big throw offensively, that one big catch, that one big stop on the defensive side of the ball in a close game? Central's been making some of these. Eastern hasn't. So I kind of like Central, and I like Shane Morris. I think Shane Morris is getting better and better each week. He's got his wide receivers back. They're healthy again. Offensive line good. Central Michigan, I got to lean to them as the slight home dog there, even though that Eastern Michigan road ATS track record really is astonishing. But I think it's got a chance to come to an end tonight.
Yeah, Central Michigan's getting a little healthier too, but I think Eastern Michigan, that record is really deceiving, as all of us know. I mean, they're a lot better team than 3-6.
Also, their defense is pretty impressive. I mean, they've done a great job there with that group. I mean, I remember a couple years ago they were awful, Eastern Michigan. I mean, they couldn't do anything. Now they're making bowls. They're playing well. Look, I know a lot of people devalue this, but I think it's important for teams like Eastern Michigan. These are winnable games. I know they haven't won games like this, but the time is now. There are 3 games left. You got 3 wins, 3 games left. You have 2 winnable games to end your season against Miami of Ohio and Bowling Green. This is a very big game for this crew. I know they don't, their record might not show it, but I think they're better defensively than Eastern Michigan. Central's off a huge win, a game that I don't think anyone thought they would win. They come back and win it in adverse weather conditions. They're also, like Ian said, Eastern Michigan's a great road team, and that's under coaching. That's under what Chris Creighton's done there. 5-0 this year against the spread. Central Michigan hasn't covered a home game this year. I think, to be honest, guys, I think they're baiting you to take Central. I mean, I think a lot of people are under the reasoning to think, well, Eastern Michigan, look at their record. They're not winning these type of games. I think overall defense will play a big part in this game. I kind of want to lay the 2 here. Be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I'm playing this game, it's on Eastern as well. Guys, we got a big Saturday college football slate we got to get into. There's good MAC talk there, but let's start off with the main event, 165, 166. SBR odds screen showing Notre Dame -3 across the board. 57.5 the total. This one down there in South Florida, going to be a hell of an atmosphere. As a fan, this is the most excited I've been for a college football game all season long. I know Donnie is as well. Donnie, you want to start us off with your breakdown on this game?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, again, South Florida is going to be alive. It's going to be, rivalry weekend again. Top 10 teams now, both number 3 and number 7, according to the latest playoff rankings. But that's not going to matter too much when you head down to South Florida. The place is going to be electric tonight. What you're going to want to lean on is that Miami defense. Are they going to be able to stop that power rushing game from Notre Dame? Notre Dame has been running up incredible numbers over the past 5 to 6 weeks, which does, pique your interest. But if you're going to lean on Miami and say, what are the best things that we do? You have 3 of maybe the best linebacking core in the entire nation to try to handle that read option running game. It's going to be a tough game. But what's interesting about this when you look at it, forget a side perspective, -3, -2.5, the over under 57.5 to me actually seems a little bit high for this type of football game. I think Miami's going to want to get out there, ground and pound with Travis Homer, try to give him a little bit more football. And as we've seen, Miami's not really that huge home run hitting team. I think they're going to be able to keep that Notre Dame run game at bay. Not to say that Notre Dame's going to run for 350 yards, but I think the clock's going to be moving. 57.5 to me just seems a little bit rich for this game.
It is under the lights, but a lot of eyeballs in this. Kind of tends to be, well, I don't know what you guys think about it, but big man, any follow-up on what Donnie said?
Yeah, I actually agree with him pretty completely with the total, but I think here's where stats are a little misleading, okay? With people saying that Miami's rush defense isn't particularly good. You look at per carry, 3.92 yards. That's top 40. That's very good. They've given up 4 rushing touchdowns this year. Washington's only given up 3, and they're the number 1 rush defense in the country. I think if you look at stats, rushing defense looks at yardage allowed per game. Look, I think it's kind of a misleading stat. Per carry, they've actually been pretty good. And I think, to be honest, I'm not necessarily sold on Notre Dame defensively, particularly in the passing game. It's all going to come down to Malik Rozier. If he does not turn the football over, if he makes some plays like he did against they need a Berrios to step up. They need another big game out of him. One of those random players to step up and give them a huge game like they had in that game against Florida State, a game that you really threw all the stats out. It was a close game. I've stuck with Miami. I'm going to stick with them. I think they're a special team. I think Mark Richt finally seems to have found a place that's going to work for him. It's his alma mater. It's a place that, he got a lot of flack for not winning it at Georgia. You have the ability now. I mean, you've been kind of disrespected in the polls a little bit. You got a team coming in here. You're at home. The atmosphere is back at the U. I just think overall, I think Miami's touched a little bit. I think I also look at a freshman quarterback on the road. Can he make the throws? I know it's always a question mark. He's been able to do with it so far, but I just think you have to look a little bit more into this one. I think Miami's kind of touched a little bit. I'm going to keep riding them here. A dog at home, I'll take it.
The home dog is howling. What about you, Ian? You agree?
It's a great watch. I won't be involved though, betting wise. So if I definitely, there's no question, Jeff and Donnie feel stronger on this game than I do. But it's a good one to watch. There's just a value problem right now with Miami. I mean, they were priced as a home underdog last week against Virginia Tech. We saw how that game played out, and here they are a home underdog again. I think Notre Dame's a little bit better. I think they could beat them, but the value's not right. The price ain't right. There's no way I could lay 3 with Notre Dame here on the road. So it's a game I'm staying clearly away from, but it's a good one to watch. I think Miami again, though. I mean, people are just odds makers. I don't think are buying into this team, and as a result, there might still be value yet again to back them here.
And Donnie and Big Man, I know you guys got some opinion on this game. What about Notre Dame's rushing attack, that a bunch of NFL guys on the offensive line going up against Miami's front 7, front 8? If you're betting the U, that's got to worry you, no?
Yeah.
No, I mean it's go ahead.
No, you got it. Go ahead.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's a great rushing attack. I mean, your only trip up on the season was a close loss to Georgia. And what is Georgia doing out there, annihilating everybody in its wake? I mean, this is a really good football team. But you're right. Jeff brings up a good point as well. Sometimes in these atmospheres, players perform differently. It just seems like when Miami gets under the lights in South Florida, now that they have a good football team, I mean, coming into the game, Virginia Tech was destroying everything in their wake as well. And Miami put a quick stop to that and blew that team out. You can even drop back and say, if Rozier doesn't throw 3 dumb interceptions, I mean, what's the final score of that football game where it ends up? I know you can't do that, but heading into this game, if Notre Dame just thinks it's going to line up and obliterate that Miami defense, that's not going to happen. It's going to be a great football game either way, though.
Any follow-up, Jeff?
Yeah. I totally hear the points. I mean, they have a great offensive line. They always do. I mean, but, you look at what Georgia did. I mean, they had, 50 some yards rushing in that game. That's pretty impressive. I mean, from Georgia's point of view, I don't know. It's always, like I said, I throw a lot of the stats out. I mean, I just am really looking at this game from a betting perspective. I could get an undefeated team at home. +3, I'm going to take a shot with that. I think that the kind of the allure, the magic is back at that university. They're just an exciting team again. I mean, they're the turnover chain. I mean, what a cool little idea. I mean, and you look at it, guys. I mean, last 3 games for Miami, 12 turnovers in 3 games. I mean, does that have something to do with it? Probably not, but it's a cool little touch. It's fun to be a Miami football fan again. And could it end this week? Sure. But I got to tell you, I have a weird feeling they're going to knock the fuck out of Notre Dame, put Notre Dame back in their place, which I'll be happy to see because as always, I always like seeing Notre Dame lose.
No, I love that turnover chain as well. But, guys, it is a big weekend. We got also another one at 8 o'clock, TCU, Oklahoma. Looks like this one's 62.5, 6.5 or 7 on the Sooners. And also the oldest rivalry in the South. We had Colorado Conrado in the chat box saying he's going to be tailgating there. War Eagle, man. We got Georgia, Auburn. Looks like Georgia's -3, -2.5, a good one to shop around on as well. 47 the total. Ian, do you want to start us off on these two? Any opinion on these two big games?
It's TCU. I'm leaning that way, but I need 7 at least. If I don't get that, I'm going to stay away from the Horned Frogs. I really like their defense. I really do. TCU. It's all about Kenny Hill. Does he have the mindset? Does he have the power in him to play well and consistently for 60 minutes? Maybe he does against this defense. I don't know how you can make a strong case for Oklahoma's defense laying these kind of points against anyone right now. They're very fortunate they faced an even worse defense in Oklahoma State last week, because neither of those teams played well on that side of the ball. At least TCU is going to put up a fight defensively, going to put up some resistance defensively. And for that reason, at that price, I can only look TCU in that game. I think they got a chance maybe to get the job done, win outright, but certainly looking at them plus the points. The other game, Georgia and Auburn. Look, I know Auburn's done a lot of great things. Jarrett Stidham in the offense struggled early on. They're getting their footing together. They're putting up points now, moving the football effectively, but they are facing a very, very good defense, and I'm just not in the business of fading Georgia in a price range where they pretty much have to win the game in order to cover the number. That's pretty much period, end of story. Georgia, for some reason, things have not gone well for them at times in the past against Auburn. You remember the immaculate deflection game, Ricardo Lewis off the hands of the Georgia players right into Ricardo Lewis' hands, Nick Marshall, and Auburn with an improbable win against Georgia a few years back. For some reason, Georgia has had a lot of heartbreak over the years against Auburn. I think Georgia's got a chance to snap that finally here in this game. Less than a field goal, I can only lean Georgia.
So lean in Georgia for Ian. What about you, Jeff? Any opinion on those two?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a little too much respect for Auburn, truthfully. I mean, let's be real. I mean, who have they beaten, really? And any step-up game they've lost. I mean, I don't know that I see it. I don't think they're a team that can derail Georgia. Like Ian said, I mean, they're just such an elite defense. I mean, they could be the best defense we have in this country. You know, I think this is also, got to look at the last hurdle for Georgia. I mean, this is probably the last, tough game they're going to have, to get to the SEC title. Look, Kerryon Johnson's very good. I'm not going to take anything away from him. I'm a Stidham guy. I liked him at Baylor, like him here, but I just don't know if they could break down a team like Georgia. Georgia's been pretty much taking care of everyone in front of them. They've really just owned everyone. You look at their SEC defense. I mean, I think they're giving up like 10 points a game in the SEC. Is this going to present a problem? Sure, it's in Jordan Hare. It's been kind of a house of horrors, as he had mentioned. But I also think some of these kids remember some stuff like that. It's always fun to play a game like this. That Georgia team, I mean, just such an impressive run defense. And Auburn has lately been giving up some points. I mean, they're giving up 24 points a game, which is a little bit higher than their normal average. It'll be a knockdown, drag-out type of game, but anything under 3, I'm not sure how you don't take Georgia. I don't really know. I understand why you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you, Jeff, but I mean, they did beat Mississippi State. They beat Texas A&M. Depending on what number you got with Texas A&M, they covered both games. You're not impressed by those 2 victories?
No, and largely, Drew, I actually will be devil's advocate for myself here. I mean, we could make the case of what has Georgia really done other than beating Notre Dame, which is a good point also. Listen, I think this is obviously one of the most overrated conferences in sports year after year. You have 1 or 2 real good teams, and that's about it. I think it's vastly overrated on the grand scheme of things. But, yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, those are nice wins, and, they're going to have to play here. I mean, this isn't going to be easy, but I just think at this number, getting it under a field goal, it's hard to not like that.
Yeah. And Donnie, what about you? Any thoughts on these last 2 games?
Yeah, Auburn game is going to be a fun one to watch. I don't have really a lean on that one, but if you're looking at capping, betting, doing whatever you want on the Big 12, just, you might as well just get into your car and put a couple dynamite sticks in it and fire yourself into the sun. There's no way to cap it. I mean, you might as well go out with your friends, play 3-on-3 football on a Saturday. That's pretty much what the Big 12 is out there. No rhyme, reason, or anything given, and I hope that they don't get a single team in the Final Four.
That's the Big 12?
Big 12. I can't. It's the worst football on the planet. It's by far the worst football on the planet.
I mean, he's right. I mean, defensively, it's pathetic. I mean, it's disgraceful to watch. I mean, it's not. There's no real game plan. I mean, even the announcers. I mean, many times just said, well, defenses are okay with just getting shredded all game. I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, I would love to see an Oklahoma against like a good defense. It would be interesting to watch. But I mean, to call it exciting, to call it whatever, okay. But
it's actually exciting. For it's exciting for the first 3 minutes, and then you're bored of the game already.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Did you see 4 straight touchdowns? Yeah, that's not really what I want to see.
Right. It's like when it's like when you first start drinking, and it's like it's fun. You get drunk. It's like cool to do. But then a couple years later, it's like, well, I mean, who's the corny drunk guy at the party? Like, he's not that cool anymore. That's kind of what it is, the Big 12. It's the same song and dance year after year. We basically award people because they just basically say we're not going to play defense, and people love it, and it's interesting. But I mean, we have to just.
But how did they all end up in one division, Jeff? Like, why is that conference the I don't give a damn about defense? And because I mean, it goes back to like Texas Tech, where the quarterback sits in the pocket flat-footed by the third quarter because the defensive line is so tired on its 89th snap to go after the pass rusher. I don't understand. I don't understand how that conference got like that.
It's pretty amazing, and it's literally every team is the same way. They all just don't care. They're just. It's Olay defense. Hey, we'll match you. We'll be there to pick it up at the end. And it's I don't know. I guess if you like that, fine, cool. I'm more of interested in a defensive battle. Who's going to hit me in the mouth? Who's going to get a stop?
Come on, yes.
That's football. This stuff isn't.
Video game pinball up and down the field. Yeah, I don't want to see that every single game. There's no way. You got to have some defense, get some stops, some big hits, big tackles, big one-on-one tackle in the open field. You got to see some of that from time to time. And you're right, in the Big 12, it's roll the football out, throw it left and right. Let's just outscore the other team. Let's not worry about being sure tacklers in the open field. Let's not worry about good technique in the secondary. Let's just score, and have more points than the other team when the game's all said and done.
And also, I know they have to like fill time on like the college game day stuff and that kind of thing. But like, at what point did Mike Gundy become like some offensive gene? Like, when did that start? Mike Gundy's a dope. I mean, can we be real here, people?
Yeah, but he's got the mullet. That's part of it.
This is fucking football. It's not. If you want to be a fashion model, go do that. I mean, look, I love nice clothes. I like wearing, I just bought some Louis Vuitton loafers. I like that kind of stuff, but I'm not a football coach. I don't have a disgraceful, disgusting defense that literally, if God himself said, listen, you have to get a stop or we're all going to kill you, they couldn't do it. It's amazing how poor they are. And they take it. They don't have any problem with it. They're okay with it. It's
the same every time, Jeff. Every time it's Oklahoma, like you figure, like Oklahoma State, you got Team Boo Pickens back there. You got all the money in the world to go out, get coordinators, put the full court press on recruits out there. And you say, you know what? We just got to build a defense that can compete with Oklahoma, and they get stuffed every single year into a box by Oklahoma's offense.
Yeah, and then you get chance after chance after chance, against Oklahoma. I mean, they literally changed the rules to give you another chance. And you still couldn't do it. And I don't blame their offense. Their offense is fine. They can move the ball. We all know that. But just the just disgusting defense. I was really blown away, guys. I had Oklahoma State. I thought defensively they were really going to.
I thought they were turning a corner with the way they played against Texas and West Virginia, and then they let go of that stink bomb.
And they always have that kind of defense that you somewhat trust because they've had guys like the Emmanuel, Ugbuzz kind of people. They've had guys like that are pretty decent. They can kind of get a stop when you need them. They were like West Virginia last year. West Virginia could get stops when you needed to. But I was blown away with how poor they were.
Well, if the coaching fails for Mike Gundy and he moves on from coaching football, he can send in his resume to Dolce and Gabbana. I'm sure they can.
Also, maybe I'm not clear here. I don't live in the South or can't comment on it, but wasn't the mullet popular in like the 80s? I mean, are we just clowning on the guy now or what?
Rat tails and all that stuff, sure.
When did that become cool? I mean, to me, that's one of the lamest, stupidest haircuts I've ever seen.
They need a gimmick, though. I guess he needs a gimmick. And how about the one where we're so good at the beginning of the year, like I'll show up at the press conference, like, guys, make it quick. I'm going dove hunting in the morning, and then it's leaving. Like, yeah, man, he's cool, man.
But it's not even trendy. And look, I'll be real. I mean, I have a blowout haircut. It's not the trendiest thing either. But I'm also not a college coach. I mean, it seems like he literally goes and like
he's got a nice tan too.
Yeah. It's interesting. He's got kind of that. He's got kind of the Guido style, yet he lives in the South. It's pretty interesting. I kind of give him a little respect, but you're a football coach.
Yeah.
Worry about the football and then worry about your hair. If you want to be a regular guy like me, I go get my hair cut every week.
Yeah.
I'm not a college coach. But when you have a defense that just cannot get a stop, then we got a problem.
Yeah, I love my hair. I make sure it looks pretty decent every day. But I got that time to focus on it. And I'll tell you right now, if my hairdresser ever thinks about putting a mullet on me, I'm grabbing the scissors from his fucking hand and gouging his eyes out with those scissors. I'm not getting a mullet, my friend. Never.
I guess his wife likes it. I'm not sure. I've never, maybe his wife's into it. I'm not sure. But, hey, I think it's time to get rid of it. It looks kind of stupid if you ask me.
I don't know. I take the other side. I mean, it's business in the front, party in the back. Donnie, who are you siding with?
Well, it's interesting. Where are you from?
Yeah, now, if you're undefeated and you're making runs at national titles, I mean, you can do whatever you want with your hair. But when you're out there looking like a clown, getting beat in like Bedlam, you shouldn't even show up to Bedlam anyway. When your only job in that football program at Oklahoma State is to win Bedlam, Reese hang in around in Bedlam, they get slapped every year. Yeah, you can't wear the mullet like that.
And he gave up not 42, not 52, 62 points in the game. I mean, come on.
Yeah, to Baker Mayfield. And hell, Baker Mayfield's probably leading the way for the Heisman Trophy, huh? If for no reason, nobody else out there.
No.
Barry Melrose, longtime LA Kings coach, Barry Melrose wore a mullet, but that was back in the early 90s, back when that hairstyle was more.
He's still wearing it like that, isn't he?
Yeah.
We cannot reward Baker Mayfield for this shit. No. Do not give him – no. It can't happen. He should not be rewarded for facing that shit defense crap every week. No, give it to someone that deserves it. No.
All right, maybe Heisman talk next week, big man. We're gonna hit that next week. But guys, we got to get into Degenerate Special. We got a good one here. And what I thought was a good one in the beginning of the season, Tulane Green Wave.
Dewey.
I like it, man. We got 2-7 ATS East Carolina versus Tulane, who actually had it going there under Willie Fritz at the beginning of the season. Dropped their last two, actually dropped their last four, dropped 3 of the last 4 ATS. So we got Tulane versus East Carolina, 64 the total, -5, pretty much across the way. You can find a 5.5 at Chris right now. Tulane -5 on the road. Donnie, start us off. How you betting this one, man?
Tulane at home, maybe we can get excited for laying points. The last time you saw them, I guess, maybe people are still hanging their hats on the Tulsa game. That was that pre-hurricane. We're going to play it at 6 a.m. in the morning, and they really throttled that football team. Going on the road to FAU the next week, getting dropped in that one. No shame getting beat by South Florida and hanging around 34-28 when that game was actually 34-7 late in that football game. Memphis trashed them. Then you lose to a bad Cincinnati team. Say what you want about East Carolina. Their defense does stink. They're going to have a tough time stopping that running game, but if you're going to give me points with East Carolina, the one thing I know is they can get lucky and go real fast on offense and score some points. I'm not looking to lay Tulane with anything right now. I'll take the points with ECU in this one.
I like it, Donnie. I do. Tulane's banged up. I'm going to be on the side of Donnie as well. I'm taking ECU as well. So, Ian, what about you?
Tulane hasn't had a bye yet this year. That's another thing, too. I mean, we're talking now November the 8th, going on November, 11th, 12th by the time this weekend comes around. You haven't had a bye week yet this year, and it's showing. If you've seen Tulane's results the last few weeks and see them play, they look fatigued. They look physically worn down. In the second half, they're not playing good football. You remember what Memphis did, completely ran them out in the second half of that game a couple weeks ago. This is a football team that it's getting better with Willie Fritz, but they're still undermanned. It's still taking time to influx the talent level here at this Green Wave program. And with that long, without a rest week or a bye week to get some injuries back, get a little rest in you, we're seeing Tulane not really bring their A effort. I mean, they're looking sluggish week after week after week, and that's not a team I'm looking to lay points with here on the road. Even though I like this Tulane team and I've liked them all season, they're showing like they're running on fumes right now. So, yeah, I could lean a little bit to East Carolina and over the total because it's affected their defense. They're not getting the stops now that they did early on.
Yeah, over the total as well, because ECU's bad defense against that option, that could be a good way to look at it. What about you, Jeff?
Well, I'm going to try to sell you guys on Tulane. I'm going to do a sales job here, okay? First of all, ECU, 2-7 against the spread. They're not doing anything. Season's over. See you next year. Have a good summer or winter, whatever we're in here. I know Tulane struggled. They've lost 4 in a row. but all four were to good teams other than Cincinnati, where you lost by 1, came down to the wire. You look at what East Carolina does well, pass offense. Thomas Sirk, good offense. Well, I mean, it hasn't showed in the stats because you only scored about 23.5 points a game. And now you got to face Tulane, who has actually been fairly good against the pass, 50th overall in the country, done a good job against American Athletic Conference offenses, which is impressive. ECU, what does Tulane do well, guys? They run the football. John Banks, tough kid, runs the option. East Carolina is giving up 238 yards a game, 5.6 yards a carry. They also are the worst team in the country on third down. They're giving up the most third down conversions in the country, allowing almost 56% conversions. That's dreadful, and it's actually bad and worse by a pretty wide margin statistically. I just don't think it's a particularly good matchup for the ECU team. At the end of the day, I mean, we still have to point out a team like Tulane, young, new coach, haven't had much success, only won 4 games last year. They have the shot at the bowl here. I know it's probably unlikely, but they have a reason to play here on the road. There's a reason to get excited for this one. I'm not betting East Carolina here. I don't see any reason to think that they're going to do well in this game, and they haven't all year. So I actually go with the green wave here.
All right, so big man on the green wave. And actually, Donnie, looking at their schedule, it looks like ECU had a bye and then went out and got smashed last week. That does kind of scare me a little bit, betting ECU, no?
Houston's a pretty good football team, though. I mean, I just look at it the way is I'm not really a big fan. If this game was roles reversed and Tulane was at home, I would agree with the big man. I would be on Tulane. But just them going on the road, they don't show me that much where they're a team capable of laying the wood. The Tulsa game is an anomaly to me. It was just a completely weird situation where they were able to roll over them. If you look at the other games, I mean, it was a little bit of step up in class, but I just don't like Tulane in a role where it says you have to win by 7 or more points on the road. It just breaks down to as simple as that. That's all.
All right. Well, I can't tell if I lean over or side with you, Donnie. Either way, big man, you had one thing you wanted to throw out, bet against.
Yeah, just quickly, I found it interesting. I actually wanted to give a little credit where it's due. I actually remember there was an episode we did, all of us, where Donnie had to leave. He had to go like the dentist or something. And I remember Ian Cameron and I, we kind of got into it a little bit over Mike Price at UTEP. And, I was kind of saying to myself, well, new team. And they actually played pretty well. I think they covered a game, and we were kind of on that side. But you get back to the realization now, guys, that UTEP has Mike Price as their coach and really aren't going to continue to have him as their coach. So not only is your season over, but I think as a student athlete, you have to understand at this point that what are you really playing for? You have no real leader. You have no one that seemingly cares. And the direction has showed, guys. I mean, this team is statistically the second worst team in the country offensively. They're scoring 11 points a game. They've scored more than 20 once this year in 9 games. Their best player, Quadriz Watley's out with a clavicle injury.
He got hurt. Did he get hurt in the game last week? He played last week.
He did. They're now down to their 3rd string running back. And get this, guys, amazing stat here. And this is by about 15. They've only had 103 first downs this year in 9 games. And it's the worst by 15. It's amazing how inept this offense is. And I go to Mike Price, and I want to shout out to our good friend Babano, Pee Wee's Pick House, Ian Cameron. Listen to this quote by Mike Price, because Ian called it. "We're struggling on offense. We need to get much better," he said. "This is more complicated than I thought it'd be. The job is more complicated than I thought. This direction is more complicated than I thought." What a surprise, Ian, right?
Does that sound like a bet on quote to you?
No. And I got to tell you, you called it. You told me, because I try to make the case for Mike Price. I try to say, well, he did somewhat resurrect UTEP at one point. They made some bowl games. They did some good things. But the truth of the matter is he's been away from football for years. I guess he's just kind of a stopgap guy. They're getting to the end of the year. But as a student athlete, I mean, when you go to football practice after you go to school all day, how do you get up? And not only get up, but now you have to go and get beat up again this week. You got to play, you play good teams every week. Got to go play North Texas, who is one of the better teams in this conference, after getting worked by a Middle Tennessee State team that hadn't blown out anyone all year. How do you, as a program, get up anymore? I mean,
that's the question. And you know what's funny? Mike Price got a resurgence out of UTEP for a year, maybe a year and a half. And then when he was gone out of there a few years ago, they were as much in shambles, if not more, as when he took them over. I mean, that team was just horrendous by the time Mike Price was out of there. This was a ridiculous decision. Why not get a young person in there that can relate to these kids here?
I think they might be waiting on that.
To get something going.
Yeah, they need to start. That was almost like the Jim Grobe situation for Baylor the year before.
Right.
You just look and say, hey, has anybody retired have free time just to see this meaningless team? I actually watched all 4 quarters of that Middle Tennessee State game. And the best part about that, Jeff, is you're saying, no, Wadley's coming back. Like, that was the whole synopsis. Like, at least they actually have a real football player.
That was
you're saying he's out again? Jeff, I mean, put it this way. If I'm putting this in layman terms, Kent State would be minus 13.5 versus UTEP.
And then, guys, I mean, they actually had in that game against Middle, they had 137 total yards.
They were so bad that, Jeff, they were awful. Now you said Wadley was the only guy that looked like, oh, he has a little bit of burst. And now that he's out, I can't stop laughing.
That was my only angle, man. Actually. I mean, I thought they at least have one player that can be dynamic.
Right.
You know, they could give him the ball and say, hey, get us a first down. But 103 first downs in 9 games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it's not like Middle Tennessee has a stellar defense.
Yeah, they're okay on defense, but you're right though. When it breaks down to it, it's like, forget about scoring points. Like, if UTEP gets a first down, you're like, damn, that was a nice drive. That's amazing. That's terrible.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you're dealing with in the doldrums of college football. I mean, just put it into perspective, guys. The number 1 first down team in the country is Ohio State. They have 256.
You know, it's one of those teams that they got 3 points in the 4th quarter. UTEP's got the ball 3rd and 8. Nice 20-yard pass play. First down. Wow. What a play. That's awesome. That's flipping amazing. Wow.
It's like in that movie Little Giants, when the Little Giants get a yard and the whole crowd goes, we got a yard.
Exactly.
It's true. Like, that's really what it is at this point.
UTEP, Kent State, throw them all in that same kettle. That's what you're like when they get one first.
I think you're disrespecting Kent State by putting them in UTEP's kettle.
Let me ask you guys, Ian, Donnie, whoever, Drew, if let's say you need a first down. If you get a first down, you and your team, each player gets $1 million. Who would you trust to get the first down, Kent or UTEP?
Oh, I mean, it's Kent State. At least Kent State at least even has a read option. UTEP doesn't even have any. If you ever seen Ryan Metz, Greenlee and Metz play quarterback, who gave them scholarships? No wonder. It must have been Kugler out there gave them a scholarship, because he's like, Jeff, you had a head coach midway through the season. It's like, you know what? I don't know if they're going to fire me, but I can't even be around this team right now. I'm out. You know what? I'm out.
Yeah. Kugler actually picked Greenlee out of Fresno. He took him away from Fresno and tried to get him someone to come there. But it's pretty pathetic, really.
Good for Fresno, by the way, to get McMarion in there, because McMarion's played really well for them.
Yeah, they could be with Greenlee at this point, for God's sakes.
Is that
I don't
number
know
6?
who I'd pick. It's tough.
Ian? He wears number 6 for Fresno?
Yeah, transfer from Oregon State. Yep.
Yeah, that guy's pretty good. And also for Middle Tennessee, Donnie, Stock's still back. That's a betting angle to take.
Good betting angle. It looks like Clue is going to play this week also for Charlotte, which is actually, I like that even better because their offense is anemic with him in there. Should be an interesting game, but you get that Stockstill rust factor out where he didn't look that great against UTEP, and they still pressed the gas and beat them fairly easily. They should be able to handle Charlotte as well. And again, I think they have to win out to make a bowl, so there's a little bit of incentive to do that, where obviously we know Charlotte ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, I like that one as well. But guys, let's get into best bets. 6-2 the last 2 weeks. Went 4-0 2 weeks ago. 2-2 last week. Hats off to you, Donnie, calling that UMass game. Man, that was absolute right side there. You want to follow that up this week with another winner?
You know, let's just go tonight. We'll keep it easy in action. Is it the most fantastic card to bet? I think Ian hit it right on the head. It's more of me. I like MAC football as it is. It's a great viewing card outside of the Kent-Western Michigan game, the last two, but I'm just going to keep it simple tonight. 107 and 108. We're going to go Toledo and Ohio. Line opened up at 6.5. I don't care if 67% of the tickets are on Toledo. I don't care that the line dropped down. The Sharps are really, getting after Ohio. Same way we might play last weekend. Plus 28 I took on the show for UMass. Ooh, man, Sharps love it. It closed at 35. It didn't even matter. The Sharps were incredibly wrong. I think they're wrong again tonight. Do I see a blowout? No. Ohio is a really good football team. Jeff knows that firsthand. And also Toledo, the one thing that this boils down to, you're going to tell me Toledo, who I think is going to win the football game anyway. I'm going to look at Nathan Rourke, who's a really good quarterback in the MAC, good read option guy, but I've seen halves where he's thrown for 10 and 15 yards, 2 for 10 through the air. The one thing I know tonight is that Woodside is going to be a good quarterback each and every possession. It's not a surprise when they go down and score a touchdown. It's not a surprise when he rips off a 45-yard pass right over the middle. I'm going to lean on Toledo tonight, -3. That number is all the way below. I don't care who's buying it. I don't care if the sharp side is Ohio. You're telling me Toledo -3, basically just to win the football game. I think they're overall the better team. I'll take Toledo tonight as my best bet on the round table.
Great value at that number, to me at least. Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
You can get that at reduced juice right now as well at 5 Dimes and Pinnacle on SBR odds screen. Donnie, following up that UMass plus 28 with Toledo tonight -3. Big man on campus. Where are you going?
I'm not sure if this would be allowed, but would you consider allowing me to bet whatever the opening line is in a college basketball game?
Yeah, we will.
Very good. Give me UCLA against Georgia Tech this weekend in Shanghai. And I'm going to tell you why. You have two teams here who are in dire straits in a foreign country, but you have a team in UCLA that is much more talented than Georgia Tech. You look at the 3 players out for UCLA, LiAngelo Ball, who wouldn't start or play meaningful minutes anyway. The other 2 are top 50 recruits. The problem with UCLA is they have 3 or 4 other top 50 recruits that will come right in. They have Thomas Welsh, Gigi Golem back to really solidify and cover Ben Lammers. We look at Georgia Tech and we look into what is going on with this program. There's a lot worse things going on with this program as opposed to what's going on with UCLA. Josh Okogie out for the foreseeable future, accepting benefits. Their leading scorer from last year. Todrick Jackson, their 3rd leading scorer, out. He's also out for impermissible benefits as well. Their coach, under investigation for being involved with the benefits issues. UCLA is much more talented. I think in a game where a lot will be made of the stuff off the court, UCLA still has to go in there and take care of business. I think UCLA is a top 15 team, in my opinion. Chris Wilkes is fantastic. Jalen Hands is a top recruit. You still have Aaron Holiday there as well. I think the off-the-court issues, UCLA is a much more polished team, much more ready team in this game. I think they go in there and they pound Georgia Tech.
All right, big man on UCLA. And is there a price range that you're looking at? Ballpark?
I mean, what do you think? They'll be a favorite, but I think I think the Ball brothers will continuously enhance spreads. I mean, the truth of the matter is, LiAngelo Ball is a 22nd level player at his position in the country. He doesn't belong at this university. I don't know that that's going to matter much. And the 2 other ones, they're ripe freshmen as well. So I don't know. It's tough to say, Drew, honestly. I would say, I don't know, 4 to 7 maybe.
And just real quick, big man follow-up, does Josh Pastner lose his job? In your opinion?
I would say probably. I mean,
yeah.
I think with the climate the way it is in college basketball right now, I have to read more into the story and really understand what's going on, but it doesn't look good.
It's a wild one, though, man. From what I've heard, the guy that gave the benefits actually doesn't even it hates Josh Pastner, so he's not like a booster or anything. It's just he's giving players, extra benefits. He has nothing to do with Georgia Tech.
Yeah, but also the big problem here, Drew, from a betting perspective is all this is going on, and you're in China with a young team that just lost their 2 best players. It is a terrible situation. I'm not downplaying what happened with UCLA. They're out on bail anyway. I think at this point, the U.S. consul will step in, and I think they'll get it worked out. But UCLA is much more prepared in this situation, much more.
Okay, well, we'll hit on that. With college basketball right around the corner, big man on campus knows it as good as anybody. Ian, what are you doing for best bets?
Well, we're going to pick on one of the 3 fade NFL teams that I mentioned earlier in the show, and we're going to do it against the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to lay 4 with Tennessee. 4.5 is the common prevailing number right now, but there is a 4 out there at bookmaker Chris, so I'm going to go with that. Tennessee -4 at bookmaker / Chris. Look, Cincinnati's effort was pitiful in the second half. Think they got behind. They just couldn't execute on offense, couldn't execute on defense. Not good for a team that, that they almost had to have that game against Jacksonville to maintain any hope in the playoff picture. Now that hope is waning. Andy Dalton's not playing well. The defense is getting gassed. The offensive line continues to be destructive. And I will say this about the Titans defense. They are starting to play a little bit better. They had the bye week before the Baltimore game last weekend. I think that got everybody a little bit more refreshed. Take advantage of, I think, a downtrodden Bengals team. We're going to lay 4 with Tennessee. Best bet for the round table.
All right, Ian on Tennessee -4, big man on campus on UCLA at the opening line. Donnie on Toledo tonight, -3, -105 at 5 dimes. I'll follow up action with Eastern Michigan -2, -105. That's at 5 dimes as well. So 2 action tonight. Hopefully can continue the good run of best bets. Look out for big man on campuses, college basketball, conference previews. Ian, Donnie, anything to shout out before we shut it down?
No, be on tonight with me on the closing line, breakdown hockey, so maybe some NBA basketball, take a look real front and center with these Maction football games and have a little bit of fun. So he'll be joining me tonight, so check that one out.
There we go. That and Ice Guys for me on Thursday, Saturday, and Tuesday, every 9 a.m. Eastern on those 3 days a week. We're on Morency's show tonight. We've got college basketball tipping off on Friday. Looking forward to that. We're going to try to get some plans finalized for Jeff and I doing some things on college basketball. So lots coming up here at SBR.
Absolutely. College basketball starting on Friday. This is the roundtable every Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 Eastern. If you like the content, please give us a thumbs up. It helps us out a lot. Thanks for tuning in, guys.